One company spent this single Friday being crowned and condemned at the same time. Frozen out by one government while it wired another nation's entire economy to the exact models that got pulled. I won't name it yet. First you need the rest of the day. An $8 billion chip deal. 8 rivals signing one standard. A media giant handing live ad budgets to autonomous software. Every layer of the stack moved at once. Start at the bottom with the silicon. Here's the framework I want you to hold. Think of AI as a stack with layers. Raw silicon at the bottom, then the infrastructure that wires it together, then the agent protocols that let software act on its own, then real-world deployment, and finally regulation and public trust sitting on top. Normally these move on different clocks. When they all jump inside 24 hours, that's not random news. That's the whole market repricing what AI actually is in real time. Start at the bottom. Reports surface Friday that Qualcomm is in talks to acquire the chip startup Tenstorrent in a deal valued somewhere between $8 and $10 billion. Tenstorrent is built around legendary chip architect Jim Keller, the engineer behind landmark designs at Apple, AMD, and Tesla. If that deal closes, Qualcomm stops being a phone chip company and becomes a direct challenger in the data center AI silicon that Nvidia has dominated almost completely unopposed. Why does an $8 to $10 billion bid matter to you? Because Nvidia's pricing power rests on having no real competition at the top end. Every credible challenger, AMD, the hyperscalers' in-house chips, and now potentially Qualcomm with Keller's team, chips away at that monopoly. More competition at the silicon layer eventually means cheaper compute, and cheaper compute is the single biggest input cost behind every model you use. The supply side just got more interesting. Move one layer up, and it gets busier. The same week, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise expanded its AI factory lineup with Nvidia, building in Nvidia's new Vera processor for orchestrating agents and fresh Blackwell graphics chips aimed at enterprise-scale automation. Translation: the plumbing to run armies of AI agents inside ordinary companies is now an off-the-shelf product. And here's where it gets really interesting, because the layer above that one is what makes those agents actually talk to each other. On the same day, Google launched something with a boring name and enormous implications. The Agentic Resource Discovery Specification, a shared standard for how AI agents find and use tools and data. The remarkable part isn't Google. It's who lined up behind it: Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia, GitHub, Hugging Face, Salesforce, Cisco, and Snowflake. These companies agree on almost nothing. When 8 rivals back the same plumbing on the same day, they're telling you exactly where the money is going. Step back and read the signal. A standard only matters when an industry expects scale. You don't write shared rules for a niche. Big tech is building the equivalent of road signs and traffic lights, and you put up traffic lights when you're expecting a lot of cars. The cars in this case are autonomous software agents. The bet is that within a year, agents talking to other agents becomes ordinary, invisible infrastructure. So who's actually driving these cars yet? On Friday, Warner Bros. Discovery said it deployed autonomous AI agents on Amazon's cloud to run advertising campaigns that, in their words, continuously self-optimize based on outcomes. A Hollywood media giant handing live ad budgets to agents that adjust themselves with no human in the loop. And that's not even the strangest part of this day. Wait until you see what one company pulled off on opposite sides of the planet. That Warner deployment is the demand side showing its hand. For 2 years, agents were demos and pilots. Now a public company is routing real money through them in one of the most measurable businesses there is: advertising, where every single dollar is tracked. When agents move from the lab into the part of a company that touches revenue, adoption stops being a forecast and becomes a line item. Demand isn't coming. It already arrived. Now the layer everyone feels: regulation. As all of this expansion ran at full speed, Anthropic's 2 most powerful models, Fable 5 and Mythos 5, were still pulled offline this week under a U.S. government directive, unavailable even to paying customers. And today, June 20th, was the refund cutoff for customers cashing out their unused Fable 5 credits. Read that against everything else. The industry is racing forward while Washington is yanking one of its leaders backward. The pushback was immediate. 76 cybersecurity experts, including names like Alex Stamos and Rachel Toback, people who spend their careers finding holes in systems, signed an open letter opposing the ban. Their argument: pulling the most capable models out of defenders' hands doesn't make anyone safer. It just hands the advantage to whoever's left with access. But here's the twist that flips this whole story on its head. Even as that fight played out, Anthropic's leadership struck a strikingly calm tone. The head of its international business said this week he's very confident the models will be available again in the coming days. So this isn't a company in collapse. It's a company treating a worldwide shutdown of its flagship products as a temporary speed bump. And that confidence only starts to make sense once you see what they were doing somewhere else entirely. Now the contradiction. While Anthropic was frozen out at home, on the other side of the world it was doing the exact opposite, running one of the most aggressive national expansions any AI company has ever attempted. Same week, same company, banned in one market, locking down an entire country in another. That contradiction is the through line of this whole day, and the numbers behind it are far bigger than you'd guess. In South Korea, Anthropic just put Claude inside the country's corporate backbone. Naver, the nation's dominant internet company, is rolling Claude code across its entire engineering organization. Samsung SDS is deploying it. LG CNS is pushing it out to thousands of employees. Game studio Nexon is using it on live services. In a matter of days, one American lab embedded itself into the engineering culture of Korea's biggest names, and the scale runs wider than the household brands. Through a local platform called Channel Corp, Claude now reaches more than 230,000 businesses across Korea. Anthropic also signed a memorandum with the country's science ministry to put its models in front of government researchers. Shut out of one government this week, wired into another nation's entire economy in the same breath. Keep that paradox in mind. It's the answer to the question I open with. There's even movement on the very top layer. People. The OECD, the Club of Wealthy Democracies, published a framework this week defining what AI literacy should mean for students from kindergarten through high school. It sounds dry. It isn't. When governments start standardizing how children are taught to understand AI, they're quietly conceding that this technology is now permanent infrastructure, not a passing trend. So step back and total it up. In one day, Silicon got a new challenger. The infrastructure to run agents went mainstream. 8 rivals agreed on how agents should talk. A media giant handed ad budgets to autonomous software. A top lab got banned at home and crowned abroad, and the OECD started rewriting school. Through the business analyst's lens, every signal pointed the same way. Supply expanding, demand arriving, competition intensifying, regulation scrambling to keep up. And now the company I promised you at the start. It's Anthropic, the day's biggest loser and biggest winner at the very same time. In the same 24 hours, the US government kept its best models offline and rivals allies signed a letter on its behalf, while an entire country wired its economy to those exact models. That's why I've never seen a day like this. The whole industry repriced itself between one sunrise and the next. If you only follow one of these layers, tell me which one in the comments, and I'll go deep on it next. Heavy stuff worth a second watch. Like and subscribe if you want more of this. We'll be back soon.